Hey guys, how's it going? Here is the long-awaited Alice in Chains album review. I've been so excited to make this for months for you guys. Rainier Fog was released Friday, August 24th. A ton of you have been messaging me about the review. I actually did a ranking of the songs on Facelift the other day for Facelift's 28th birthday, and the day it was posted was actually what would have been Layne Staley's 51st birthday. So a lot going on for Alice in Chains this week between its history and new stuff for them, so it's a cool and exciting time for them. It's really hard to do an album review without comparing it to its predecessors. That being said, it is also really difficult to compare Alice in Chains albums sang by William versus sang by Layne Staley. It's two completely different eras. When Alice in Chains had Layne as their frontman and singer, it was just a completely different era. They were young and they were new to the scene and energetic, and they hadn't experienced a lot of life yet. And now they're seasoned, most of the members are in their 50s, and rock isn't on top the way that it was back in the early to mid 90s anymore. So it's just a very different climate overall. Their voices are entirely different as well. You have to chalk up all the respect in the world to William Duvall, as he went to Layne Staley's family personally, in person, face to face, and asked for their blessing to carry on as Alice in Chains' second frontman. And that was a very reputable and unnecessary thing for him to do, seeing as he only really needed the consent of the band members. But he got their blessing, and, you know, he has said before in interviews, "I'm not Layne Staley. I know that I never will be." It's definitely been different opening up to having a new singer, and I really did not. If you saw my So Far Under video, you know that I never really gave William Duvall a chance until I saw them live this past May, just because it was so exciting. And I'm not saying that the music isn't good at all. I'm mainly just saying that there are hardly any old Alice songs that I would skip, and now I find a lot of their newer ones almost forgettable. And that hurts me to say because I am a massive Alice in Chains fan. They're probably one of my top 5 favorite bands. I really wish I could be one of those crazy diehard fans that just loves everything that the band puts out just because it's that band, but I can't. I have to be true to myself and know what I like and what I don't, and it honestly just doesn't catch me the same way that anything with Layne did. So I guess you can say in a way that this is going to be my first mixed review on my channel. While I haven't done a lot, the ones in the past that I've done I've been pretty much insanely excited about, with the exception of maybe 2 or 3 songs. With this one, it's almost the opposite. It's more like half of the songs I think are just eh, and half of them I think are good. So yeah, we'll get started now. The opening track is The One You Know, and I don't think they could have picked a better song from the catalog on this album to use as the opener. Honestly, when it came out back in the beginning of May, it was the first single that was released from this album, I did not fall in love with it immediately. I thought that the sound was very aggressive, but honestly, it's grown on me a lot, and I had a feeling that was going to happen. It gets stuck in my head, and there's just a diversity in the tempo and the melody throughout the song. The harmonizing is probably the best that it is on the entire record, and the drumming is really prominent. We get a lot of cymbal and snare mashing, gives you something really good to headbang to. And of course, as usual, as you will also see on the rest of the album, we get a crazy snarling guitar solo from our beloved Jerry Cantrell. Jerry does sing most of the verses in this song, and I don't know, I think it sets a pretty good opener for the rest of the songs that are coming. You never know, a long time ago you were frowning, thinking it over. As for the second track, which is Rainier Fog, aka the self-titled track, I read in an interview with Jerry Cantrell from Rolling Stone a couple months ago that this song was in homage to Seattle. So you would kind of expect this song to be, I guess, a little bit more slow, but it's pretty upbeat. Between the work of the crisp guitars and, once again, the harmonization, this song sounds very nostalgic to something that would have been off their self-titled album back in 1995. Blowing up like a Red Giant starts off on a really haunting and chill-inducing note with the harmonizing and the echoing guitars. It almost sounds like it belongs in a James Bond movie or something. Once again, I think this song sounds good. The guitar is really heavy in the chorus, so the song has a lot to offer sound-wise. I think the first 3 songs together are definitely a strength on this album. They give a lot. There's a lot of energy packed into them, and it's just very in your face. Then we get to number 4, which is Fly. I think that I would enjoy this song a lot more, but it just drags on way too long. And this is going to sound crazy, but a lot of times I judge a song by my ability to focus on it while I'm driving. So a lot of times when a new song or an album comes out, I listen to it while I'm driving in the car, and because I'm very attentive to the road, and the only other sense that's very prominent is hearing, so I am focused on the music just as much. And if I start to zone out while I'm driving, not out of focus from the road, but just kind of like start thinking about things, my mind starts to wander. That makes me question the quality of the song that I'm listening to, because if it was really good and it was really keeping my attention, then my mind would not start to wander. So I think that is the problem with Fly. It drags on for way too long. It sounds the same throughout pretty much the entire thing. And Duvall's vocals are very drowned out by the music and monotonous. So there really isn't a lot of pitch variation, and it just, it's hard to even hear what he's saying because the music is so much louder. Stepping in and out of madness, such a dedicated drone. Number 5 is Drone. I think the intro sounds very cool and unique as opposed to a lot of the other songs on this album. And we do get a stronger vocal delivery from Duvall than we heard on the previous track. However, I once again think that this song drags on for way too long. I think if you're going to tackle a 6.5 to 7 minute track, it needs to be kind of done in a way like Guns N' Roses' Civil War, where there's a lot of variation throughout the song and it sounds different at different parts. It goes from heavy to light. Because if the song just keeps repeating the same verse chorus throughout the entire thing for 7 minutes, it starts to get very boring. And unfortunately, I do think that that is a recurring theme on this album. The songs are just dragged out. If they were maybe a minute or even 45 seconds shorter, I think that a lot of them would be better than they are, just for the fact that it would be easier to stay focused on them. Deaf Ears, Blind Eyes. So, I mean, the title of the song stands out and is unique and sounds exciting, but once again, we get a pretty monotonous vocal delivery until you get to the end of the chorus where he starts to pick up his range a little bit. And honestly, I hate sounding like a broken record, but for some of these songs, there's just not a whole lot to say because they all kind of follow that dragged out, drowned out, boring sounding theme. And this sucks. I'm shooting straight for the target center. Now we get to Maybe. Were you ever in any of your high school classes and you were told by your English teacher that when you were starting an essay you had to put a hook or a grabber at the beginning? Well, I think that the beginning of Maybe serves as that grabber. It starts with vocal harmonization alone, no instrumentation, and I definitely think that it stands out sound-wise for that reason. Maybe overall is a relief as opposed to the past few songs sound-wise, because even though it is also a bit on the longer side, once again, it's a lot easier to stay attentive to it because of the switches in variation, in melody and tempo, and there's some cooperation between acoustic and electric guitars, and it kind of just goes back and forth in rhythm. So again, I think that it's just really important that if you're going to have a longer song, there just needs to be a lot of diversity. And I think that Maybe does a good job for it. So you start to kind of go, whew, okay, this whole record's not boring. Thank the Lord. So far under, far hard, now forever. Okay, so Far Under is another good one. This was the second song that was released before the album came out, and unlike the one you know, I immediately really liked this one. It just has that very classic, almost like a Dirt feel to it. Like it sounds like it would be something off of that because of just how heavy and angry and deep it is in general. And honestly, William Duvall sounds like he is trying to have a sound that's reminiscent to Lane Staley's voice. You can see that he's making an attempt to capture that classic Alice in Chains sound more, and I think the heavy, die-hard Alice in Chains fans will be really appreciative of that, while the, as Brett Buchanan would say, no Lane, no Chains fans are probably saying that he's sounding too much like him. But I think it's a great song. And yeah, so it just sounds like something you would expect from Alice in Chains. So this song is also a major relief, but is also just blows a lot of the other ones away. Never fade, I know you think you're someone I forgot. Never fade. Never Fade is another great song. This was the third song that was released before the album came out. And it has a sound that's just very nostalgic, again, to classic Alice in Chains until you get to the chorus. The chorus is definitely something that they haven't really tackled before. It's pretty innovative for them because it's fucking soft. It literally is just so, like, full of emotion. And despite the fact that back in that Rolling Stone interview with Jerry Cantrell from a few months ago, he said, after 15 years of writing about your friends dying, it's time to move on. So we didn't really expect a lot of tribute songs, or if any at all, to Lane, and we got one. I mean, I think it's pretty clear while you're listening to the words in this. You can just hear that somebody is missing someone, and I immediately thought of Lane. I immediately thought of Chris Cornell. And Alternative Nation actually just revealed in an article that Jerry did say this. He was thinking about his grandmother and Lane and Chris Cornell when he wrote the words to it, and it makes me tear up actually when I hear it. And the lyrics in the pre-chorus, when it all gets dark, you light my way through, that hit me hard as a fan of theirs because Chris and Lane, their voices and their songs, and although Jerry Cantrell wrote most of Alice in Chains' songs, got me through my adolescence. It's just an emotional time being a teenager, and I feel like Lane and Chris helped me find myself a little bit more, and so when I hear those words, like, it's like, wow, that's like how I feel about them too, and you can just tell that this song is about them and for them. On your toes or on your heels, there's a line drawn on the floor. And finally, we come to the album closer, which is All I Am. This is another long song, but I think this one was done in a very intelligent way. It is spooky and just ghostly sounding, but there is a lot of different aspects to it, and Duvall gives a really good vocal delivery in this song and puts a lot of emotion into his singing. So I think that it's okay to put a long song as the end of the album because it kind of leaves off on an existential note in a way, like, okay, so what's gonna be next? And so I think that this song was really good to end it off with, and it's a good song. So overall, I guess I do feel a little bit more positively about most of the songs than I made it seem in the beginning. I guess it's about like 50-50. I think that the beginning couple of songs and the ending couple of songs are the strong points, whereas the middle is kind of just blah. You know, you kind of want to keep everybody engaged, and if they get bored in the middle, they might not listen to the end. But I think that the heavier and angrier songs were in the beginning, whereas the more nostalgic and emotional songs are left towards the end. So I do think that it ends off on a happy note, and though it doesn't come close to the works of anything that was done with Lane, in my opinion, I think that it's better than The Devil Put Dinosaurs Here. I would maybe tie it with Black Gives Way to Blue, but Black Gives Way to Blue has a lot of different stuff on it, and I think that it was easier kind of to listen to all the way through. I still love Alice in Chains, and I'm going to support them no matter what, and I think all their fans should too, because they are, like, along with Pearl Jam, the last of those big grunge bands from that time. Comment below and let me know what your favorite songs from the album are, what you think of it overall, whether you've seen them in concert or are going to, if you have any stories about seeing Lane in the past or anything else, and what you think of William Duvall. So, would love to hear all your opinion, and we'll see you next time.